Hi, welcome back. Now we're going to paint the quiet place for our landscape series, and I'd like to welcome you to Jansen Art Studio. We're going to continue on our studies. This time we're going to do a little bit different. Where all the other landscapes have this great depth of field through the painting, there are other types of landscapes that don't have a great depth of field. They're relatively short, like what we have here on the quiet place is, you know, you have a line of trees and this, and you don't get there's no mountains or anything like that to get perspective. And so, what I explained to you in the techniques DVD is that your landscape can be all about the sky, which is very high, which this one is more about the sky, and it can also be about the ground, and depending upon where you put your line, your horizon line. They all say, a lot of people say it should never be exactly halfway. I've never found that in any of the old paintings or stuff, but I've found teachers say that a lot. I don't like to put it exactly at halfway, but and this one isn't. It's a little bit higher into the sky here than it is down here. It's about an inch higher into the sky than what it is down here. So I really love this exchange right in here. And so how are we going to get perspective? Well, we're going to do it through some of our clouds. And remember, from our cloud template here, this will help you get perspective. This will also help you get some perspective through here and here in detail, but that's how we're going to do it. Now, you have a pattern for this. There's a little bit of detail here on the building. There is a little bit of perspective here where you have the front of the building going to the side of the building back through here. And so that's shown on the pattern for you. And I sketched this on again in the step photos. You see me actually sketch on the building. Now, the one that I did in the step photos to what is the final one here is just a little bit different. Let me explain it to you. After I got into that step photos of that and I'd finished the painting, I decided to raise the height of this building just a little bit so it came up in here. It was down lower, which made the tower look really quite high, and the tower was just a little bit wide, so I ended up just taking some sky and narrowing it down. So the final photo is just a little different than the last couple of step photos, and so what we want to do is just paint what you have on the pattern, and then you're fine. So the pattern reflects this. Now, to sketch it, so I sketched it on. My original one I just sketched on. And to sketch it, you can either put a T-square against the edge. Most of the paintings, this tower is going to reference an outside line here in the frame. So you just don't want this tower kind of wonky this way or that way. And there's a couple great ways to do it. If you don't have a T-square, just take an extra canvas and set it up like this so that it's lined here on the bottom, and then just come in and slide it over there to this where that pattern's going to be, and draw yourself a nice vertical line right there. Now that'll be the vertical line that you center up against the tower, noticing that this has got to come over just a little bit onto that side, and it will be over to this side. There'll be 3 edges to this tower onto the painting. That's what you want to see, because the tower, this church I've painted several times in several other landscapes, but it has 3 sides here that we want to, across here we want to do. We're not going to get into perfect architecture on this. This is not what it's going to be, but there is going to be a light struck plane, a receding plane, and a shadow plane here. This will be the light struck plane. This will be the shadow plane here. So we don't have a real receding plane on the side here, but I ended up raising the building just a little bit, and we'll add some trees and use an edge of a canvas to line it up a little bit for you, and then we're off. Okay, that's all we need. So we'll start off right with this. But in the photo, you'll see me do a lot of sketching up here right before I start the painting. Okay. Now we're going to start the sky. The sky is going to become very important this time, so we're going to want to have a nice deep blue up here, which will give us a lot of contrast for our main cloud, and then head back to this. So let's start up in there with that. You could start with a light coat of white on the surface, like I do several times. And my extender here is empty, so I'm going to fill up my little cap of extender here. I keep nice dirty extender right in here on the sides of this well. This palette has painted over 300 paintings now. I went through and said, okay, how long ago did I make this? And this palette has painted 300 paintings now for me. But I'm going to take some of this dirty extender that I have out here. The dirty extender doesn't bother me at all. I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue out here, and then we'll lighten it up with some white. Now I want this a little bit cooler sky, and so I'm going to add a little bit of my red violet to this. And let's lighten this up here like this. That's really kind of pretty. Here, let's start right up here into the corner, and we're just going to make it a little bit darker up there, and then a little bit lighter as it goes across to the sky. I want a little more red violet in that. Just a little bit more. So let's get that in there. Here. That's pretty. And we're going to go right down here. Just right above where you see the roof line here. Of course, if you have your pattern with your trees and stuff, I want to go right down, right below that roof line, right down in here, so I can paint my trees up into the sky a little bit. And if I decide to add sky holes, I have sky behind them there. Now I'm going to paint right up to and into my tower just a bit. Here. Just like that. Okay, just scrub that apart and scrub it in all different kinds of ways. We'll pick up a little bit darker, a little bit more color over here onto this side, and even a little bit more purpley dark right up in here onto this top corner up here, where I really want to have that nice dark contrast. If you go outside on a nice clear summer day, if you look straight up, you'll notice the sky is darker up there, and then as you look out towards the horizon line, it's lighter. That's natural. I learned that, like I said earlier in the series, I learned that in my college physics class, and the instructor had us go out and do that, and that's when he introduced us to what the atmosphere and atmospheric does to all the different kinds of water vapor and stuff like that in the atmosphere, and how it bends them and makes things lighter and stuff. So we did a lot of light dynamic studies, and I never thought I would apply them to my landscapes, but works. So right about in here, so I want to come right down in here, and then I'll just let that kind of fade out there and just scrub that around. I like this movement into this sky. This is going to be a painting of sky, a lot of sky, since sky occupies a good 60% of the painting here. It's going to be about the sky, so I'm going to want to make sure I have that in there. Now I'm going to just take some of this color, might as well while I'm here, and just jet it right down in here into the little stream that we have here. So we'll put that right in there. Boom. Get that jetted right along. Matter of fact, it can be a little darker right over here. Just like that. We'll do all kinds of fun painting things with that, but that gets us started there. You can even come in and put in some ground and stuff like that, but right now what I'm going to do is come up and paint the sky. And first thing I'm going to do is just take some of my white over here, and we're just going to come through and work this white just real softly into the sky here to get some nice movement into the sky. And so the first thing I'm going to look for is, before I build my clouds, is just some soft, nice movement into the sky. So I don't want any areas of just solid color. I want the sky to constantly have movement here. So I will just add that in. And we'll also be painting at the same time the sky at the horizon line, which is, is always the lightest. So we will put some more light down here along our horizon line. Some nice light. Drag that down into the tree area there. Don't paint around your tower. Just go right through your tower right now. Your line should be dark enough to see it. And you can always take a damp brush or so and pull some of the color off of there, or tap it off with your towel too. If you start getting too much color, just tap it off there with your towel and pull back through it. Don't stop at the tower though, because it'll look like you stopped at the tower. Okay, so we'll just add some more light here right along the horizon line and up. Some nice movement here along the horizon line and up here like that. And some look of some soft little puffy clouds at the bottom, but it's just real quick here. We're not making all the clouds yet. We're just adding some movement. Up and through here, we'll just streak up this blue a little bit. Add some misty movement to it, maybe a bit right up here at the top here, just like that. So we have some, don't do too many big long strokes like that, but as you can see, I get some of this movement all the way through the sky there, which is what I want to have. Now, as far as putting on the clouds, you can use any type of brush. I've shown you several times with the bristle and the knife. With the knife and with the big brush and stuff. And I'll use a bristle this time. I'm going to use my number 4 bristle, and I'm just going to tap some some white right into the bristle. Load up the bristle pretty good. We'll start with the main cloud, which is going to be here, which is going to go through the tower. And in your planning here for your landscape, if you have the tower go through a cloud, like what I do here, it's going to go right through a cloud. You'll get a better visual perspective that way if it crosses something. So anytime you can cross planes with something, it's just like putting a shine on the water. If it's crossing over, if that shine is crossing over a reflection line, like the edge of a building or something like that, you'll get a better plane. You get a better picture. So I'm going to plan a big cloud here, which is going to be my big interest cloud, and I tap this in, and then I just run the brush very flat. Use the brush very, very flat. Don't stab at it like this. Run the brush very flat like this. Okay, off to the sides like that. Okay, and just let this kind of streak out a little bit. And so that'll put the misty part of the cloud on. And I'm just going to continue with that misty part. We'll start right over here like this, and we'll continue right through the tower. But as this is, we'll build this one up there just a bit here, like that, okay? And tap that around just a bit. And then what we'll do is, I'm going to stop my extender on my tap palette there from running into that blue. I'm going to then start to get a little smaller and a little bit more back like this. So what this has done, see, is it's given me a perspective line here. And I don't want to be that perfect with like the clouds there. We want to separate them just a bit, but that's going to give you a perspective line here of clouds. You see that goes down, 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 down like that. Now I'm going to take, now we have to build it for textures and stuff, perspective of that. So I'll tap in more white, more textures, maybe roll these a little bit up here if you want to soften and roll some of this, or tap in some more interest here into the front. You know, we can use tapped in clouds, or we can drag the clouds along the bottoms here to make them move across the sky a little bit. All sorts of ways here. Here I'm just going to put this one up here like that, and then a little bit less here, a little bit less as it going that way. Now to hide some of that too, we'll start some secondary clouds, just diminishing down in size and coming up this way. Some nice secondary looks of the clouds. And then we'll model some of our clouds right in through our horizon line here, right on in through this area. We'll model a few down into there as well. But the most important one is going to be this one, where we have this nice tapped in textures and stuff like that coming on there. And we'll model some in through here, just like that. See, we'll get that softer movement into the sky. Just drag your brush like this and you get that lovely, like real wispy cirrus cloud type of movement through there. Okay, just high scattered wispy clouds moving through there like that. Now I also, you can put on some shadows to the bottom side of the clouds, and you can use any of your grays. You can take your gray. If you want it really cold, you can add a little bit of red violet. If you want it slightly warm, you can add a little bit of yellow to it. You know, it's kind of up to you. Depends on the season that you'll be painting in. I'm going to keep this a little bit, just a little, because I have such warm yellows and everything to it. I'm going to keep the gray here slightly to the yellow side, just a little bit here. So I'm going to make this gray, and I'll have just a touch more black here, but I'll keep it warm, okay? And we'll come in here and we'll tap some grays along the bottom side here of the cloud, here like that. That'll be the shadow, and we know from our perspective studies that this one will be a little bit less, and then you see a little bit less of it, and then you see a little bit narrower of it yet as they go back. So the biggest amount of grays you're going to see is up into this area. Now I will soften that, you know, sometimes I'll just push that around with my finger like this. Sometimes if the color is so wet, you can wait a little bit. I will also use this just to drag around like this. You can soften it with a big brush. You can soften it with your 3/4 inch or a smaller brush and tap some other things in there. There's a lot of different techniques we're going to show you, you know, in the actual painting here, and you can do a bunch of a bunch of them. We'll add a little bit of that gray through the painting here, which is really good because these types of grays we're going to use as well in the tower. So it's nice to have them in a few other areas as well. But if you're perspective-wise on clouds, you'll see a darker cloud right up here like this, and a wider bit of the bottom here of the cloud when it's up into the front of the painting. Then I can take some additional dark, maybe a little cool, a little cooler, a little additional dark if I want, and I can come out with this little brush here. I can wipe the brush so it's very soft, and I can paint into the cloud and soften some edges of the cloud here a bit if I want to do that. Or if I want a little more, excuse me, a little more contrast to this, I can pull this through. So I get a little bit of that in there. You know, how much you do, that's all up to you, but you will build a little bit more into this and wipe the color off your brush. Hold the brush very flat, and you can just whisper this if you want to soften an edge. Just whisper that in like that, and that'll soften the edge for you and pull through. So some of the cloud you want, as you get back here, you want that to soften. But up here in the very front, we want to get a couple of lines of just heavy color and textures in there. So this cloud right here comes forward. So a little bit more, just a bit of work there. And we get a nice perspective going through our clouds here as they go further back here. A little less, and then a little less here, and a little less as they go down. But big, big, big. We need just a little bit bigger up here. Big, big, big. And then just round this up and soften this in. Wipe the color off of your brush so it's very soft. And just use that to just blush it. Just ever so light. And that will soften that for you. Here like that. So the bristle works very nice. It's a different look than the knife that we did on so many paintings, you know. And you could take your knife, if you like your knife, and run that through a little bit there and create more motion through it, and then tap in some more color. You know, that's, you know, there's a lot of different ways. But, you know, try making clouds all different kinds of ways. That will help you with, you know, with your techniques or the look of yourself as an artist. So you use so many different looks, so you don't get locked into one look. Alrighty. So that puts that one in there. Now I'm gonna use a smaller brush, like a 4 or so here, and I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna start basing in the actual tower here. So what I'm gonna do here first is I'm just gonna take a little bit of extender on my brush, and I'm gonna pull off some of that cloud right where I'm gonna base in that particular part of the. And that got a little bit, I went a little bit outside my line there. So I just want to pull that back in. There we go. And I want that tower a little bit narrower. Right in there like that. So here's this part, and then here's this part. So that's my tower. I can see my tower now pretty clearly. I don't know if the camera can pick that up or not. But we're going to mix up some of our gray. So here's our blues. Here's some of our blue and our black right here, which makes some nice dark grays. A little red violet in it makes a nice cool dark gray. We'll keep that right over there. We'll warm this up with some yellows, some of our yellows, some of our nice toned yellows, or the Hansa yellow here. We'll come right over here and warm this up, this gray up over here. And a little bit of black into that. Gotta be careful just a little bit, don't want it to go green here. You can have a little bit of that black and that white. And we're going to make a warmer gray, very light gray here onto this side. Cooler gray here, a little bit of red violet and stuff into this. So a cooler gray, we'll get a little bit of white into that. So we'll have a cool gray here and a warmer gray here. The cooler gray, the warmer gray will go here on the light struck plane. The cooler gray here on the shadow plane. So we'll take the light struck plane here, and first we'll start out that one right here. We'll start out just with like a little number 4, and I'm just going to pull this down to make the base in the main part of the tower here. Okay, and then down this way. Okay, and we'll try to And that's got a little of that other gray in there. That's okay, I'll paint that out. And the main part of the top of the tower here, I'll just use the chisel and very carefully pull down. And notice how you see how I brace my hand here with this, so that you could also use a maul stick or a ruler or something to help set your hand down so you stay out of that. I'm going to darken that down just ever so slightly, a little bit darker right through here, which will make my stroke down, start at point and then flatten out a little bit for the receding plane on that tower. And then I'll reach right over here to the little bit darker of it right here, which start on the point of this again, down like this and pull down, and this will be the shadow plane of that top turret of the tower. So you have 3 planes there. Now the shadow plane into my grays, my cooler grays here, will angle down just a bit here, just like that. So it comes across and then angles down backwards just a bit. That's for your perspective. You can do that little jut out there if you want and pull down. Here, jut it out just a bit and pull down. Here, pull down just a bit. There, like that. That's nice. I'm going to move this tower shadow over just a bit. That's good. Now, we'll come back in, and all we want to do is just like what we were painting a house or anything else. I don't want to get all wrapped up into the details, or we say bogged down by the details of painting a building here. I'm just going to take some lights and I'm just going to break it up and add some shimmers and some shines. So I'm going to take a little bit of white into here and just slide this right around the light struck plane of this part of the tower here. And I like to use just the chisel of this with just a little bit of that white, and almost like imagining like little shines and stuff here. I don't want to get too complicated. If you get too much or so in there, just strike a little bit of the other color through there. We'll streak a little bit of the light plane, that light plane color, through the receding plane. That'll be the highlight through the receding plane. And then a little bit of the receding plane color through the shadow plane here. We'll stroke through that. And I'll make even a little darker shadow plane color. A little bit darker, a little bit more red violet, touch more black here. Right up down in here on this side, which will help me really shadow that plane here. Up like that. And break it up a little bit. Okay, break it up a little bit. In other words, give it a little bit of movement. I have just a tiniest little burble right there, which I want to get rid of because that's up in the interest, and I'll just lift that out. And if I need to, I'll let it dry just slightly and pull the cloud right back through there again. So I don't, you can do that. Don't worry about that. We'll break up this side plane here. We'll break up this side plane, just tap in some of that slightly darker color. We'll do it here. We'll add that little angle, and we'll break up this side plane. Just tap in this slightly little darker color here. It just breaks up the plane with some of that light. I'm going to take, and I like a slightly brownish color too, into my brush, which is red and black and a little bit of our yellow in here to get this brownish color. Here, I like that as well into some of the building, and maybe tap in a little bit of gray and that brown just to get a little different color here. And I'll put in like using just a chisel, I'll just pull a line across here to give some of the architectural interest here of this building here, just with this brown. It works nice that way. Just gives a little bit of interest there. Try to have it with the horizon line there, Dave, so it doesn't look like building is leaning. Here. Maybe a little bit of that shadowing and stuff down here by the base of the tower itself. I take some of that with almost black, and the tower has these little spindly things up on the corners of the building here. They're actually little statues and stuff, but if you want to do that and put in a little statue, you can do that. I'm just going to indicate some architecture interest just by tapping my brush there just a bit, man. And that little tiny burble there still bothers me, so I'm just going to take a little bit of light right here like this and back paint that right in there. There we go. Now that took care of it. I might like to put a little bit of light struck right up here at the very top, either light or dark, just to make that top edge of that really kind of stand out nice. That always works nice. You can tap in like little tiny lights here and there to get more interest. I'm going to use some of that light now, just almost white. And just like we did on houses and other things, I'm going to just pull through the tower here and add some nice interest, modeling interest there inside the tower. Pulling across like this and up and down a little bit. Here. There we go. Just tap that through there like that. And a little bit of low light, just a little bit of the shimmery shines here. Just take a little bit of the original light that we based in the light side. Just tap through just a bit on the shadow plane there. That works. I'll tap in a little darker gray here in and put in the windows here and put in these windows here. They're a little bit longer and narrower than the others that we've painted before. And I just tap in a little bit, pull down, and I let what happens happen, because you can state them either with dark or you can state them with light. So but I don't like to state them architecturally correct. So tap off their edges just a little bit. Maybe add just an indication of one or two on the other side. If you're really truly perfect, there'd be two, because it's a square going around it. But again, that's detail work, and we just don't get bogged into all those details. I will slide these dark lines here, a couple more of them coming across. Sometimes if I feel it, I'll break up inside the actual building itself with a little addition of the brush like that. But it's going to go very quickly. I will sometimes wipe my brush like this, pick up a little bit of white, and maybe around the windows and stuff, you just tap in like a quick little brush stroke of the light that hits above the window, or maybe it's hitting the edge of a sill or something like that. And don't make each one the same. And maybe we'll just tap this whole area right there later. Don't make each one the same. Just kind of put in some of that there, and we'll drag down a little bit, but pull across a bit and add some extra little stuff here. And little details here. Yeah, straighten that up just a bit. So that makes a nice light little tower going on there. You can revisit this back again and add more as you get into the painting. You may want to add a little bit more, but it's best now to, you make a quick statement of that, and I'm going to thin these down just a bit. You make a quick little statement of that tower like that, then we'll continue on with the painting, and you can go on anywhere. Now, also in the step photos, I show you where you can take your knife and that you pull it across like that, and that also works well. And so I'm going to take an area here. I'm going to show you that. You can take your knife and you can model up some of the light and the base at the same time. Model it on your brush and just kind of wiggle this and pull this through like this. And you can see you get this beautiful marbleizing, really, and filling in of that. And it also makes the paint thicker. So I'll just come up here and just tap a little bit of that up in here as well. So now what you do is you go back and restate your, you'd have to put on your windows that way. So the knife also is a great way, especially with an alla prima situation and a fast painting situation, to come in and really add a lot of modeled interest, a color interest, through the painting here. Let's just take a little dark and let's just break that up again, adding like that little edge there. Here it is. I have this angled out here, and then I have it flat over there. Don't forget, watch your architecture, that if you do it on one side, you got to do it over here on the other side. I got that a little crazy there. So We'll fix that up there. So that has to come out on this other side that way just as much. There we go. And we'll add just a bit here. So you can see the knife though, but the knife is not very accurate. So you usually have to come back and, clean it up a little bit, add a few more little things with your brush. But the knife does do a nice job of, setting some of that in very quickly. Setting some of that in, so that works real nice. Now, if you get it off a little bit, like I got that just a little bit too far off there, I'll just take the blue here from my clouds and just back paint that out and take that out. You can also do that when it's dry and just pull through just a little bit just so that you can soften it out a bit. And if you need to, just restate your cloud ever so lightly there, and then don't get wrapped up anymore in the details than that, and that'll still work there. So that sets that in. How much more you do on that is kind of relative to you. You can kind of say that. Now I'm going to come in and just take a little bit of my darker gray here, model this up, maybe a little bit of the brown, a little bit of my yellows in there, and I'm going to come in and make a quick statement here of this front part here, the front part of the building here, which is this one, pulling at a slight angle, but don't pull every one too much at an angle because it'll make it stiff. So have some variation to it. A little bit of the building on the other side. I have some more of those that I have over here on my pattern too, which I stuck in. It's, you're seeing just a little bit of the other part of the town and around the church here. And so we'll put some of that in here. Most of that, then we'll cover some of that up by trees. I have another little part that I added later that's going to, a little sticky up thing here, and just kind of quickly sketched like there was something there, but didn't do a lot of work into it. Like there's another little tower or something. Maybe give it a little bit of light struck on one side here. Don't know quite what that is, and if you paint it real quickly and just give it a light side and a shadow side, it'll look like something, okay? Coming down to the base of this, again, you're going to have a light struck and a shadow side of this, but it's not quite as distinct as the tower because it's down in the trees. So we'll have the light struck side, and here's our cooler shadow side right down here. And you can base this in with the knife. I showed you the knife. I showed you big brush, small brush. You can base it in with the knife, or you can base it in just real quick with your brush like this. Okay, so you have a shadow side and a light side, and then I'll just go about breaking up some of this, put a little bit of the shadow into the light and a little bit of the light into the shadow. And this part I painted rather quickly here, but I do want to get a nice corner of this with the light coming down on this corner a bit here. That'll help that building quite a bit, but leave that modeling like that and paint it quickly. Paint it kind of quickly. And we'll take some more greens and some sky color and stuff like that, and we'll push that right into the roof line here. Straighten up that roof a little bit. Let's take a little brown, a little gray, just add a little more coloring into that roof. There. If you're looking perspective-wise, that's got to come down right about like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. We'll put a tree there. And, we can put a little soft shadowing underneath that. Whoops, I just took off that edge. Sometimes painting back and forth, like I've said to you in the other videos, painting back and forth on a building several times, painting back and forth to the building just does a lot for the movement and the interest of the building. So it doesn't hurt anything to paint a building several times, because you just build more paint and it gets more interest and it comes more forward. And that's the whole ticket of what we want to do anyway. So let's just grab a little bit of that light and add that over here. And get a little bit more of our detail architecture there. That'll bring this a little bit more forward to our vision if we give a little bit more of a defined edge there. Let's, before we get going too far, let's add our windows here into this. Quick little statements with our grays here. some quick little statements of gray. Oops, let's put this, guess I did one over in here, and we'll do 2, because we'll have a little tower here. And I added a little tower right here. Boom. Drop that down a little more black into our grays here. Yellows and blacks and reds. Vary the colors up with that. Pull across a bit. Put a little bit of light interest into that. There. There we go. Just a little pointy tower, or could be a fireplace or something there. It's just an architect. I, found a picture of this church and added the trees and all that stuff around it, and I loved it. So we'll add a little more brown red here with this, coloring just a little bit more detailing right up in here, and see that if I just do this brush movement, that brings that all forward there. And along the edge of this little church, they had all kinds of little carvings and edges, and I just did that, a nice little sample of that, just by putting some taps of the corner of the brush with some light color into it. So what is it? You don't know, but on the original it was all kinds of architecture. As a matter of fact, on the original it looked just like that, because it was, the picture was taken from so far away. And I'll run a little bit of shadow underneath those, so it gives a little bit of shadow interest in. So it just looks like a little decoration there. There we go. And you can tap just like you did on the other ones. You can tap a little light around the windows, a little interest, and that looks pretty good. And we'll take some of these grays and we'll just quickly push them into our other buildings here. Not too much going on with these. These are going to be surrounded by the trees and stuff, so we're just going to make a quick statement that something's in there, give it a roof and some windows, and cover it with trees, and it's all going to look great. So, but you'll come back and just tap through this several times to get some of the architectural interest that we wanted to have. I came onto these and I stroked in some blue from the sky, and I just really liked that. Taking some blue from the sky in, I thought was quite nice. But you could use yellows and all that kind of stuff. There's just so many colors that these can really absorb. I'm just going to take some of these colors here, just in case something happens with the tree, and just put some grays in here like this, even though you won't see any of this. Just put it in so we know that, and we'll carry the building down just a bit. So something's there. We'll go ahead and carry that in. We'll soften that, and that's something else right there. There we go. Alrighty. Now you could do those after, and as a matter of fact, in step photos, I believe I did it afterwards, but you could do that afterwards. I'm just going to add the idea of a couple of little windows and some movement through here. Just quick movements through the building itself, tapping in here. And a lot of times I'll make like windows way too big and then just keep tapping them down till they're the good size for that. Okay, so we'll just tap that down. And we'll just correct up just a bit. There. Correct up this just a bit. There we go. And that's pretty good. So in the step photos, I added those later, but you can add those right now. Now what I'm going to do is just you can use a bristle or a small brush, or I'm going to go to something I can do relatively quickly, maybe like my number 10 or so here, and set myself a green. and we'll come right in here. Let's set ourselves up a green here. Black and yellow and a little bit of blue. Make some real nice greens. So let's just set up a nice kind of a tone, a little bit tone, because it's got some of the gray in here like this. And we'll set this up right in here. And what we're going to do is just set the brush down flat to put on a lot of things. And then as you get up in here, let it become a little bit more air, a little more sky hole and stuff coming through here. Okay. So you use more of the corner. Here you'll use the flat, and then just use more of the corner up here as you get up this way, up into the sky, so you can create some sky holes and air hole interest into it. But then use it a little more flat and get some color, some heavier color down here at the base of this. And then more of the corner up here at the top where you're putting in, so you can see a little bit of the sky coming through those. And we'll just get lots of greens here, right up next to those buildings here, right up over some of them here like that, kind of filling in here. And let's get more green. There we go. More of our green, a little of our gray in there, nice and soft. And we'll continue this right up over the other side. Get some sky hole stuff. Carry some of this right around here. We'll add more colors and more things, but this will just give us some basing in here first. Just drag it around and use the corner up here. Drag it down. Now you can also, before you go painting too much on the tower, put this stuff in. Okay, you can do either one. It doesn't hurt. There's no like real set process. The artist kind of goes, if you can kind of see it in your mind, you can paint anything you want. If you don't see it, I suggest painting the tower first. One reason why is because the contrast on the tower will then control what else happens in your painting. So it's always good to paint into some of your colors of your center of interest there. It's always good to get some of those in. And we'll just come with this right up over the edge and in. And this will just help us set some green, and then we're going to add all kinds of interest in here to that in just a few minutes by making the actual trees and bushes. This is just kind of getting a block value of color into some of those areas here. And let's get more green down here, and let's just get into some of this color here. It should, as it comes down into here, should get a little more yellow green, a little bit more brighter, so not as much gray in it. You should get some more paint into it and just get some color into here as it comes forward here, because that follows our good rule, right? You don't have to be perfect yet, but you just, if you're thinking about this and thinking about perspective, the ground perspective of how you're going to paint this, you will get more color, more yellows, more greens right in here as this comes forward here. Okay. So it's going to be brighter because it's coming towards you. It can be lighter, but it is best to be a little bit darker, because we know as things come forward, they're going to get a little darker here. Right now, we're just putting in the base. We'll do that painting thing all over this. Here, let's just put in some green. Here we go. And let's just get this a little darker, a little bit darker, a little more stuff into that. Right out in here, it's going to go darker and more forward. You can even do the same green, it wouldn't hurt, but a little darker is best. Here. We'll just fuzz the edges of our water, because that water is going to carry some reflections anyway. And now you have a pretty good setup. And you can, after we start some of the trees and stuff here, you could go back and revisit your tower and some of your buildings and stuff if you want to. Add more detail. And again, like if the paint gets really, really thick on there. Sometimes adding the white, this doesn't work. White will just kind of soak in all the time. So it's best to let that tack up. And with the Heritage, you just give it a 30 minutes or an hour or so, and it'll start to tighten up a little bit, and then you can add stuff in there really, really easy. It's really easy. Okay, so we have our base in there, and we have that in. Now you can also do this like we did with the other things. You can use your knife, and you can use your knife and come in here and start to add some of that ground movement here, pulling down at that slight angle. We're going to have kind of a sloping ground here, so you can pull that. You do want to have an area that is going to be a little bit flat, but you can start pulling some of that sloping ground in there as well, and just start getting some visual interest here. Just take some of this other mottled color and start dropping it in here, and especially up here to the front, get lots of paint up in there, because that up into this front area up here is what really is going to come forward on you. Okay, so that's where you really want to get some colors in there. Now, you can use a small brush. I'm going to paint some of these with my smaller little brush. You can use small brush, you can use a bristle. So we've done stuff with bristles, we've done the trees with knives, and I'm going to use my small flat here on this time. You can use both, okay? You can use the bristle in there also, but the small flat works just as well. I want to come in here, I'm just going to push some of this over to the side here for a second, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make myself some various greens. So here's a beautiful green for some of my trees. I'm going to come over to this side here. We'll make some of this a little more orange, because I want to get some orange colors in there as well. And I want to get my, let's push these grays over here for just a second. Here, let's go up here and get some of my red and my black here, to get some of my browns, a nice little dose of my browns. Don't mix it up too much, doesn't need to. Let's add some yellow into that. And so I just model that down here, and I got some beautiful browns, some browns that can mix up here. I can model up with my oranges, some of my sky color down here to soften those all out, so I can see a whole bunch of my trees and stuff starting up here. Maybe a little bit of my blue here, just a little bit there, because I want to keep it more towards the yellows and stuff here this time. And let's get some more greens into this, and a little more black up here, so I get some nice variations. Now I have a lot of stuff here that I can look to help paint my trees and paint stuff. It's all right out here in front of me, and I can visually see it really well. I'm going to take my smaller little flat here, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to start physically here with some orange, because this scene has some orange in it that I really love, because it added a nice visual break to all the green. So I'm going to come right into here, and I'm just going to push it down and then just scrape it out onto the corner. So I use the flat to deposit it and scrape it up on here onto the corner here to make the wispy edges of the, like a little tree there, and drag some of that through. Now I will add like this little touches of it here and there as well. Let's get a little more yellow into that too. So as I come up here, I might want to make like a little browner shadow of it, a little push of that, just a push down of it. You're doing more suggestive trees than what we've painted in other things, because they're quite a bit of ways. So instead of going there and tap, 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 tap shadow, this is one reason why I use the flat. We're going to do more suggestions of it. We'll take a brighter orange and just lay that right out on top of it like that, and that will make the light side of the tree. So I have a shadow side of the tree and the light side of the tree. I'm going to take some of my greens and push those around in here to get some variations of some of the greens now that I have in there. And you can take some of those greens, like I might put a green tree right here, and just take some of that right up into that orange as well. Here, and just tap that around there. Now we'll have some brown as I work into that area. I need to put in some shadows, and I really should put them in now. Some shadows to help set down the buildings and stuff, and shadow in between, and this really should go on before I get too far with the trees here. And I'm going to destroy the edge here, but we'll pull out just a bit here, these shadows, dark greens, browns here, will help set this down onto the ground. In between the buildings here, I'm going to set this, matter of fact, I'm going to make this go back just a little bit so they're not on the same plane. And we'll push it back just like that. Just with that shadow. Let's set that back here and pull some of that out here. And very suggestive with the painting here. Just get your colors, just play around there a little bit. And shadows in here, which will come in and out. If you're coming in here, don't pull your shadows in a straight line. Undulate the line a little bit in and out, and that will give you more interest. So it's not straight. Don't straighten the line. Undulate it and play it. Have a little different greens and some blacks into that. So you get some shadow. Let it soften as it goes off to this side because you're getting atmospheric. But you want to keep most of that shadow contrast right up in here. This is where we want the viewer's eye to go, so we need that shadow contrast right up in there. There we go. That plays that pretty nice. And we'll just run that through just to get rid of some of that extra there. Now we have that. And you can even, like here, define like the corner of the building there too with that. And we'll just lift some of that out with that tree there just a bit. Now we can put that lightness back in there, maybe a little bit of light as well, white with some of that. And that just sits up in front there, real nice. See that nice sparkly little light right there? Will play up against that contrast and just sparkle. We'll drag a little bit of that in there, so like this is a tree that's just turning that orange. There we go. We'll drag some of that light here. We'll gray it and drag it, model it on the brush here. Let's just drag some of that. Hold the brush flat like this when I do these back ones, and I just drag like this here. Push sometimes to make heavier deposits. Let's bring the edge of that building just a bit forward. But we might want to have a tree here that just comes right here, a lighter one that just comes over the edge of that building too. It helps set that in, see? So we'll put a tree right there. And you can when you go to make the edge of the tree there, you can put dark, things in for the trunks and stuff, or you can scratch through. This is what a lot of landscape painters do, is they'll scratch through like this to their original light color of their canvas. They can even put those in before you put trees and before you put all the colors in, and that makes it look more like trunks and edges of bushes. We're going to use browns and stuff as well, so I will drop some of them in with browns like that and edges like that with the brown, but you can also scratch them in too. Scratching is another way. Just make sure that you don't put them all in exactly the same height, pulled down exactly the same amount. That's the only thing that kills a lot of your painting here. Okay, so let's just put a little bit of bush and stuff up in front of that and on the corners here. I'm going to restate that roof a little bit darker right in here with another little stroke of color here. There we go. So we'll put just the edge of the tree right there on it. Here, like that. Here. And define those windows just a bit more. Let's put 3 in on this one this time. There we go. Just tap those just a bit so it stays soft. That's nice. And then we'll, you can, as you go through your trees, okay, you can put in some lights. Then you can shoot on a little bit of dark every once in a while. Remember, that's nice contrast. Paint them in clumps. Like we showed before, let's go a little bit more blue-green here too. Put some of that color in and just drop in some shadows here. In like that. Into the clumps. Then lighten it up here. Put some other lighter colors. And just some green colors here. We want the interest in here, so we want to keep that right in there. And we'll keep just softer greens out here. Just let that just fall away over here with color so it doesn't stay too bright. Put a little in there, just for some of that interest there. Put some of that nice shadowing and other little stuff going on there, down like that. Some nice shadowing and then some light colors here on the edges of the building. You know, pull down some ground greens here. Suggest push some of that in between, you know, the buildings like we did on the riverfront and stuff. We put some in between, pull some of that down. You could use your knife to pull it down and keep it, pull it at that angle there. That sets in nice. A little bit of green around the edge to soften the edge of that building there. And I'm going to stake the roof a little bit more here. Drag some of that through the building. And that'll sit back there into that one nice. Okay. And let's just continue on here. Building more trees and bushes and using the corner of the brush. Let's get a little bit of our orange and browns here. Use the corner of the brush and just put in more of an undulated edge here for this tree. There we go. Like that. Let's put some more oranges up into as well. Let's get some more orange colors into some of these. Let's drag a few into here. Drag a few around into here. Put that nice bright orange in there. Just a few little oranges coming in here. Just like it's coming here. Fall's coming maybe. And we'll put some variation of our greens here. And again, you can use bristles. You can use this. I'm just going to paint it this time all with this. But you can use your 3/4 inch brush to put on some big color. Just get some nice variations like that. Okay. Now before we get, well, we should add a little shadow. Let's add a little more shadow. A little bit of blue into that. So we pick up some of that shadowing we used over here. You know, just a little bit more of that shadowing there. But we'll pick up a little bit shadow. Imagine some of this in clumps and trees. You don't have to make individual trees yet, but we just kind of imagine a few here. We'll let this get lighter over there. Don't tap that with your finger so it fades away a bit. There we go. And then we'll take some of our brown here. And this is where I got a little crazy. I just went and put in all kinds of little tree trunks back here. Before I go put in some lights, which will set them into the building, I just put in all kinds of ideas of little tree trunks here. These are back trees. And then we'll put some trees up in front. But, you know, even back here, you want to see some, you know, and vary the closeness of them. Some close, some further away. And so you just see some of those tree trunks. Then take some of your lighter color, even some toned orange here. Maybe even a bit of light. Just model this in. We'll touch into all of that. And we'll come up here and put in some light color. Right up here, almost like the shape of smaller trees here up in front. Here. And tap some of those trunks so that they set into the tree. Like that. And then we'll lighten up again. Like this. We'll lighten that up. There. And into this. Lighten and get a little bit more yellow. Here's some more green colors. Just a few little green colors we'll tap through. Here. I just love to roll the brush. I roll the brush like this to make all the different little edges. And get some more yellows. Oh, a little orange in there. And let's get it a little bit lighter here. So we'll start to come down in here and start making the lighter tree up in front. One, even a little bit more white here. One right up in front here. There. A little bit of darker green here. That'll put that nice light tree that's right up there in front of that building right there. And some of the other little greens. And of course you can, I paint them kind of fast, so you can take your time if you want. And then I'll add a few more little tree trunks and stuff through here. And I'll be a little bit more specific now on some of these trees. So they're coming forward. You start to see them a little bit more. So I'll be a little bit more careful. Tap just a few lights up in front of them. Here. There, like that. And I did kind of a bad little thing here is I lined all of them up exactly. So I'm going to take a little bit of this dark color and push some of that back just a bit. Push one up here, or make this will actually be easier. Make a couple of them down a little bit lower here. That's easier. There we go. And then we'll put the brown tree trunk in there. You can put a little light. Sometimes I'll put a little light or a little like light blue or sky color right along the edge of that as like a little shine that you really can see it quite well. The little tree trunk that way. And sometimes I'll do that over in here and stuff. Let's take a little bit of that light here and just drag some of that real light here. Put some of that over here on this other side, like little bushes and trees and stuff like that, right over here, and grab some browns and stuff and pull through here. I didn't put any over there. I want your eye to be coming into this area here. Now it's a bit light, so I'll just take a bit of my other green and tap through. Not remove all of it, just soften it down just a bit. There we go. There's little touches of it as it goes back out here. Little light touches, and you want to get some of these nice variations. Here's a nice yellowy orange. I'll just tap a little bit of that in there. Looking for areas that are huge and green, and then just breaking it up a little bit. Go up a little high here. Like that. Just so it breaks it up a bit. That's what you want to do. Let's put some of that in here. That's pretty good. Any more little shadowy colors you want? So you can, when the paint's that thick, you can go back and forth and restate. I could take a dark color in here and make this look like, two separated trees right here if I wanted to. So I separate this into two trees. It's just, you have the photo to look at for some ideas. I don't always follow it. I just paint it again. So I like that with like two separated trees. Maybe just a whisper of the greens into that. So it's not all orange. There, like that. That's nice. That works out okay. Now, you can pull down now. Now we're going to come forward into the scene here, and we can start pulling down this color up here into the front. You can use a little bit larger brush. You could use your knife. You could use like your 3/4 inch here. I'm just going to take some of these greens that I have here with my number 10, since I have that right here. And I'm just going to pull down now and get that brush movement here. Kind of like we did on Autumn Approaching and stuff. Just playing that ground here. We want the ground to level off here a little bit. So we will take a stroke or two. Let me get a little more light here. We will take a stroke or two this way, which will level the ground. But we want to also make the ground look like it's coming down. So I'll pull down at this angle here with some various greens. Here. Tap that right up by that. Not to cover up all that shadow we put in there. We want to leave some of that shadow there. but we want to put in some various greens pulling down like this. Okay. And just whisper this across like this, just to get that nice movement. Just let it fade away, die away over there. Here we go. And you can pull some of this right against the edge. We'll paint the water and then restate that edge. And then as it goes off here to the side, you can add a little brown or so to it to help that just soften out or gray out over here. It's a little too much, so we'll pull this out like this, just right up by the edge of the trees. The trees should always have, and you should always remember that, anywhere around the tree should have a little bit of shadow because they don't see the light there. So you should always have a little bit of that shadow around there, here like that. But then, you know, you should pick back up the movement of the water and stuff there again. And your movement should get softer and softer as it goes this way. Okay, so you want just a real soft little movement out here, out like that. Variation, push up into, that's a little light. Variation though, push up into the trees a bit. Here, there like that. And then shadow under the trees, dark shadow under the trees. Shadow right where it's contacting the ground there. That's very important. Here, and just whisper some of that through. And then look for your draggy little movement here. And constantly change the colors in your brush so this draggy movement is always a little different here. Sometimes drag across like that and pull it in place. Just light, draggly across. And then just pull down at that slight little angle and you'll make that slope. You'll make that nice slope. But down here by the bottom, you want it to stop. Now, I did just some real quick little things as I came across the water. And one of the things I did was I took some shadows. Because again, this is just a real quick landscape type thing. But we want to, I just pushed up like this. Just push up with a big brush like this with some dark. And that's going to create some like little bushes and stuff like that across the front of that water. And again, this is just a quick, you know, quick landscape painting. We sometimes they're real fun to paint, and they're real, you know, it's a small painting. It's not a huge painting, and it's fun to paint. It's not a real super perfect, you know, type of painting that we do that I've done in so many other ones. But they're fun to paint. It's just real quick. So this just pushes up, and you can pull down a little bit like this with your finger, some of that thick paint down like that. And so all you get is this movement up and down along the edge like that of little grasses. And then I took just my knife with just a little bit, a tiny bit of the white right on the top of it up there, and just tap through like this, almost like there's little white flowers there. And just across the way there, just like that. And just a quick little suggestion of them. And I don't want too many of them, so I'll tap out with some of my green brush to just run it right through. I don't want to have too many of them right there, but then you get this little idea very, very quickly, you know, of the suggestion of the little bushes or little flowers over there. Now let's go paint the water. You can do the water last. I'm just going to take some blue and some black and some red violet here. Nice cool color here. And we're just going to state that right up in here into the front. Right up by the water here. Right up into the front. This blue paint is still nice and wet. But we'll just do that. Just drag that right there. Nice dark color which pulls it forward. That's what we want to do. We'll go right up over here by our sky. Here, we'll go right up into our sky. I'm just going to pick up some blue of our sky color here and just interplay between, let's put some of that blue through and some of the blue of our sky and just kind of move this through like this just to create some movement in there. And I'm not going to do a real light colored water because my sky is not real light colored here. So, but I'm just going to, and I got that that blue a little bit more green than my sky is. So I got to get some blue violet in that. So I'm just mixing up a little bit of light. That's a little too violet, but we'll work with that. So we'll take a little bit of our other blue and put through here. Yeah, there we go. And some of this nice soft light, just very casual over here. There we go. Boom. And it'll pick up a little lighter over here, just a bit. But to really create the contrast of this whole water, because water now is going across our scene this way, as opposed to some of the other paintings where we have it diminishing into the back, we're gonna take a shadow, a shoreline shadow here, which is pretty dark, which is our blue and red, violet, and black that I just used over here. And I'm just going to come right along the edge here. And it'll get a little bit lighter, but still on the dark side. Right over there, I'm going to wipe my brush a bit. And we're just going to pull this out and down and through. So we'll pull this out and down and through here. Okay. Down like that. Now we really would have, and I didn't put that many in the original one, but we really would have some reflections of these trees. And so you can just quickly say that just with, you have just a little bit of it. You can quickly say that with just some green right through there like that. Maybe even a dose of lighter green since you have that right there. But the one thing that I did do is put the tower down in, just ever so softly, but I'm just going to come right in line with the tower, and I'm just going to put the tower in right there. And I don't have to be perfect with the tower. I don't have to be perfect with it. I'll put the tower in, and just maybe a bit of the building there like that. Just a touch of it. Excuse me. But I'm going to put some little bit of dark on either side of it, like it's the shadow, like that, and just kind of pull through and pull down. That's movement, and pull down is the water, right? And then pull through to blur it slightly right there. So you get the idea of an edge and the tower there. I'm not going to put, I went so far in the original to, put in a window, an idea of a window and a window, there. I think that might be a bit much. You just have the idea of that tower there. But I did put a darker shadow here along the edge of it, so it did come up a little bit clearer there. And, I don't want it to be too much, but just so that the viewer sees a reflection of it is all that they really need to do here. So I'm going to state that one more time, a little bit warmer. I was a little bit cool on that, playing around with it. Got a little cool. So we'll pull, we'll pull too much. There we go. Just like that. That works. Maybe just a touch of the other gray right there. You have an orange tree here. You might reflect a little bit of that. Just, you're going to, what angle you're looking at depends on how much you see. And I don't think at this angle you would see very much of anything there. So let's see, just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit of this here. Maybe just a bit of that green here. And that, but most of that's going to be back up into the sky here. And we'll get some of that nice watery sky back up in here. Color. Drag that through. Boom. It's up like that. That'll give you a nice little reflection on, whether or not you even do that little guy there, that's up to you. I didn't on the original, but you could take a little gray and put him in, and a little bit of the warmer color, set it in, just a little bit idea of it, and pull through. It'll set an idea. That's enough. I'm gonna put just an idea or two, or some of those brighter yellow trees. And we'll call that. And then I'll paint the rest of it with just the water. So I'll take just the sky and then the light reflections of it. So I'll take some white and a little bit of sky color here, and we'll come in and say, okay, here will be some of our light clouds and, you know, light movement there, and just pull down ever so lightly. That's why I like the fusions. You know, I use that big 3/4. You've seen me pull down with that. But even this 10, you can just wipe it and pull down. All the fusions are just so soft, and paint these techniques so easy because they're so soft. We'll just take a little bit of movement line there. There, like that. Just to put, I love that. And then we'll put a few movement lines in here. Anytime you can cross the plane, remember, anytime you can cross the plane of something, you help the visual effect of it. So we'll put one right across the plane of that there. And I put a little more dark right in here on the original one, a little bit more dark shadow right in there after I did that, just to create a little more contrast and movement. And a few little smeary lines of that right out here. Isn't that fun? Just be a little smeary, just real quick and a little smeary. There we go, just like that. So how much you do up there is up to you. I'm going to put just a little bit of the light right here on the edge of that, just so that the viewer does pick up that right there is a little, as an extra little bit of shine, and maybe a little bit of our original purpley cool color. A little bit more of that here. A little bit of brown in that's a little too blue. Shadow color there. That's good. Pull that down, pull across a bit to blur the line, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now all I did here, and I kept it very simple, was I'll pick up some more yellow, and we'll make a nice, and we're going to vary some greens and some browns here. And we're just going to drag this heavy color here right up to the front. Push this right into the front up here. So that will really, the heavier, darker color here and lots of paint will really come forward. But the contrast that's right up here will pull your eye right into there. So, but we need some heavy paint right up in here in the front. And so we'll grab some of this, push that in here like that. And we'll just drag this around like that. Then I'll grab some of my lighter yellow here, and I'll just drag over the edge of this, break that up, and I'd hit some white in there too. I didn't really want to get that in there. And maybe some orange. We can break in some orange too. Here. And if you get too much, I mean, if you get too much or it's too dark or too heavy, just come back and put on some of your greens again here. And you know, if you want to you know, soften them together, then push your knife down and just wiggle it a little bit. That's what I call burnishing, and that just softens that right out. So let's just restate this again right in there. So I got all the darks set in there. Let's just set up some light. Now you can also do it with your brush, but I love how the knife sets this up. Let's just set up some nice lights here. Push these through, and if you start up slowly, then you don't get quite as much of that contrast jump that I kind of had there. So start it up slowly, a little bit more slower than what I did there originally. So this will go in and up. That. That's That's good. And like that, so you got that nice heavy coloring right in there. Then you can come across the top here a little light green and white right on the knife like this, and you can just tap through and put up like the little flowers. And what you want to do is, you know, like I've said before, is go above the water a little bit. Just go above the water just a bit. Let's just add a few of those around there like that. Above the water, above the water line, so that it looks like they're in there. And you can use the knife and scratch, you know, some little grasses and stuff. You could use the edge of your brush, you know, you've seen it like on Path of Flowers. We used all different kinds of things. Tap some lights in between there. Take those out a bit. Here, I'm going to reset some shadow right in here. So you can go back and forth. And up here in the front, you're not going to put a lot in there. I mean, I wouldn't go put red flowers and all that kind of stuff. You know, you might want to have a touch or two of your orange, like I said, in there. Just a touch or two, just because it carries that around. But, you know, don't get too worked up in this area because, you know, you want the center of interest to pull across the river over to the other side there. So just a little bit here and there, and work your colors. And if you start building up too much paint, well, there's too much right there. If you start building up too much paint, then you just let it tack up a bit. Let it get sticky. It'll take an hour or two, maybe a little longer. You know, start to get sticky or so, and then you can reset that. But I will sometimes take my bristle like this and just take out a little bit here and there, you know, and you can just take it and soften it up just a bit. That looks pretty nice. I don't want to play with that anymore. That looks pretty good there. I do want to add a little bit more of a shine right across here, and you can do that with the knife, or you can do that with the brush like we did before. A little shine here and there. It's kind of nice to run that with that, especially right over that, and you flatten that down, soften that, but right over that edge. Anytime you break that edge, remember, anytime you break those edge, that works really well. Okay, so you can go back after this tacks up, and you can go back and work, which I'm going to have to because I set my green right up here in my sky, right across my tower. So I'll be correcting that right up there. But you can go back and work that if you want to add a little bit more interest, a little more detail to the tower. You can come in here. Just always watch that you want that contrast right in here. Work some of your darks. So very important, like I put some darks like right up in here, you know, just make sure those darks and stuff and stay clear, and have a good time with it because it's a lot of fun painting. You have a lot more videos to watch and do, and, you know, like I suggest with the entire series, you know, sit down and binge watch these sometimes. Just watch them all and really see all the different types of techniques. Take that all in, grab yourself a canvas and sit down and start painting some of them, looking at the step photos and stuff to give you some ideas, because there's a lot of different ways to approach it, and each one I try to show you some different techniques. Okay, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you give it a try. They're a whole heck of a lot of fun, and I'll see you over on the other videos. You have a good day. See you on the next ones. Bye bye.